Good morning, grade fours. I hope that everyone had a great spring break and a nice restful week off. We're getting back into work this week. I'm going to finish the morning with the last little bit, part 2 of chapter 8 of A Stranger at Home. And tomorrow you can look forward to our new class novel, which I'm so excited to share with you. Please make sure today that you look at week 3 for Google Classroom to see what tasks have to be complete by the end of the week by Friday. Also, look at some of the read alouds, and I have 3 of you featured on the Dino page, so have a look at that. Please email me or let me know on Seesaw if you're having trouble with Google Classroom. A Stranger at Home, Chapter 8, Part 2. As we remember, they were leaving to go back to the residential school. As we left the shore, a flock of geese flew overhead, no question in their minds about where they belonged. I watched them with envy. No one would ask them to fly somewhere other than on their course. And next year, when they returned to their nesting grounds, the other birds would meet them there, would not care where they had been for the winter. The geese disappeared, and the mouth of the Mackenzie River Delta swallowed up us weeping children. My sisters clung to me as the Immaculata traveled down the track to the mainland, far from the warmth of our parents' cheeks and the soft fur of their parkas that we had felt only minutes before. We passed the supply barge as it approached from upriver. A new tugboat had replaced the paddle wheeler, and it guided the barge toward Tuck. My father was right. Things were changing. This new, faster boat was another sign of that. Every child aboard the Immaculata wished they had the strength to jump over to that new tugboat and go to their parents' open arms, but none of us did, and after a time, it was gone from our sight. I stared out at the river's edge for a long time, trying to prepare myself for what waited at the end of our journey. Mostly, I was thinking of how I would protect my sisters, and then I saw him off in the distance, making his way toward Tuck to meet the supply barge, pelts slung in bales over his shoulders, the Dubliac. Watching him walk with that grizzly-like manner reminded me of how strong a person he could really be. I looked to my sisters. This time would be different. I would have them with me. I would not be alone, though my mother would now be without her daughters for a whole year. That's when I remembered the piece of paper that she had handed me earlier. I pulled it away from my hammock and unfolded it. On the paper was written Lena, my mother's name, in her own hand. She had written her own name. I held the paper to my heart. Our journey wasn't going to be an easy one, but we would return, steeped in the outsider's knowledge and also with the wisdom of our own people. I would make sure my sisters retained that wisdom and that living with the outsiders would not make them forget what home meant. Home was not only where you were safe, but also where your family was, and there was strength in having each other. I was Uliman now, and I would keep us together, safe and strong. I would teach my sisters how to ward off the outsider's spells, the spells that could bind you in something scratchy, thin, and tight, like the uniforms they would make us wear, until we no longer knew where we fit in. I would teach my sisters to walk each day of their lives as though they were wearing a warm and beautiful parka, with their heads held high as if they always belonged, no matter where they were. And there's just a little part here called After the Story, and this is told also by Margaret. It was hard for my father to ask me to go back to the school, but he knew he could rely on me to take care of my sisters. Because I was one of the older girls by then, the nuns picked on me less, though they still seemed to ask me for a lot. I had learned a great deal about how the school had worked and what to do or say and how to stay out of the nuns' ways. The long hours of hard work were difficult for them to adjust to, but it was the homesickness that was the most unbearable for my sisters. Sometimes I would wake to find them standing over my bed crying. I would pull the blankets back and let them crawl in with me, even though it was forbidden. I was punished when I did get caught. I would whisper stories or sing to them songs in our native language until they fell asleep. It was all I could do to make them feel better, but as awful as it was, my sisters remained true Poikiaks, strong-willed and determined. Mabel did so well in school that she eventually went to high school in Yellowknife and trained as a nurse. I hope that you enjoyed the story A Stranger at Home, and remember the ways that we can continue to educate ourselves about the First People in Alberta, in Canada, and how we can help with reconciliation. Remember, education is key. I'm excited to share with you our next novel tomorrow. Have a great day of learning. Bye.